Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here, and in today's video we are looking at another community replay. In this replay we are looking at RedSeaBear, who is in his Dimitri Donskoi. This ship is the tier 9 Soviet or Russian, I guess you could call it a light cruiser at tier 9, and it is a quite fun ship, and I'm going to be featuring this replay for a variety of reasons. But without getting too far into the replay, if you would like to send us a replay, send it to BIAworldofwarships@gmail.com. Please include the replay itself, screenshots as well, and then also a brief description of what occurred throughout the battle, as well as some of the medals or the highlights. Now, with that being said, in this replay we are on the map Two Brothers, and like I said, we are in the Dimitri Donskoi. And the Dimitri Donskoi is one of those ships that it's a very interesting playstyle. You've got these very nice 180mm guns that have quite good penetration with its AP at range, especially against light cruisers like this Chapayev. But we also have some very nice HE shells too, and of course we've got 12 guns on this ship, which is just absurd when you think about it at tier 9. So with that being said, in my opinion, I think we should be shooting AP here. AP here would be pretty much guaranteed citadels, even at 12 kilometers. And I think SeaBear just realized that here when he switched. But that's okay, not too big of a deal there. One of the downsides to the Donskoi is, well, at least in this position, is its shell arcs. But since there is no DDs, oops, apologize for that. Since there's no DDs in, oh my goodness, and that's what I was talking about, the 13 kilometers and 5 citadels on the Neptune. And I know it is a Neptune and the armor isn't great, but it is a light cruise, and Chapayev doesn't have that much better main belt armor than the Neptune does. But this is a good position for a variety of reasons, such that DDs don't get into positions like these two destroyers are. As soon as destroyers get into this position, you need to start thinking about leaving, and leaving quickly, especially if there's a battleship. Now here I think would be a perfect time to leave. You see that the Azumo is pretty much behind the island, and same thing with the Missouri. He is kind of isolated himself behind that island in C9, it looks like. So it looks like we're gonna take my advice and move out. We're also gonna pop our radar here. I think this is purely a teamwork radar. You can see we don't really have any shots, but of course the Iowa, and it looks like the gearing might have some shots as well. So a nice positional knowledge radar. So with that being said, we're going to be pushing off that island. That island is not bad to start off, and especially in American cruisers. Typically Soviet destroyers don't go there, but with it being a being a light cruiser, I hesitate to say it's a light cruiser, but I think it still plays like a light cruiser. Or you could even say medium cruiser, because it does have 180mm guns. The armor isn't super great. I mean, it's certainly not the best, but you do get this very sleek design, and which allows you to reach pretty high top speeds. You can get upwards of 33, and even if you run speed flag, you can get much higher than that very easily. Which is of course nice. You can zip around the battlefield with no problem whatsoever, and kind of sneak up on destroyers and smoke screens like we're seeing here. And of course you do have very good range. We're looking at almost 18km range, and I don't believe we're even using range mod. So that is of course a plus. And well, since it is Russian, it does get some some vodka filled shells with insane velocity too. So we're gonna see that here. So Z52, not bad, about 3k. we had the AP loaded there. Not too sure what we were expecting, to be honest with you. I think keeping the or loading the HE there would be much better idea. Just because we're going into a smoke and there's going to be, you know, destroyers, and I don't see any point to. There is no cruisers in, you know, in the vicinity except for that Chapayev there. But another thing, just be careful of turning broadside. Had those been Azumo shells, we might have had a bad day. But we're gonna actually pop our first heal, which is a bit questionable. I think the radar is a good one. We see the Alsace going to town, and surely that Alsace can hopefully finish off the Z-52. And the Mogami actually does. So that was a good radar. Got one destroyer killed that was in smoke. And basically the way this ship plays is pretty much perfectly how SeaBear is playing it. I think a lot of times you should put yourself in a more aggressive position and then start kiting away. You know, get aggressive first and then kind of kite away. Here, I think you could actually be using AP. You've got a Missouri sitting at 12, 13 kilometers away, showing a good amount of broadside. Of course, now he's turning, but before he was showing great broadsides. So I think utilizing the AP, which is the AP on the ship is quite good for only 180 millimeters. So it's just something to, you know, keep considering or reconsider. Again, here I think this is a good play, trying to take out the low health target, Chapayev. I think most players would actually switch to Missouri, and initially I probably would have too. But you know, trying to focus down that low health target, I do like that. You know, getting another ship out of the battle, all that much quicker is, of course, very needed, and it is also very important. Here we see that the Izumo is looking away, so we're gonna make our decision to turn, and I think this is a good one. We don't want to be, you know, fighting multiple ships at once. Had SeaBear kept going along that along the 9 line, he would have been shooting at the Chapayev and then also trying to fight the Zumo, as well as potentially dodge torpedoes from the Gumo. Granted, the island was there to protect him against those torpedoes, but you know, just taking a simple situation like that and just reevaluating it and saying, okay, well, instead of making this a 3v1 fight, I'm going to turn this into more of a 1v1 fight, and that's really what cruisers, you know, they strive to do. They want to turn things into 1v1s, especially if you are a radar cruiser with radar. And again, we see some nice radar usage here. The Soviet radar is quite nice. It does get out to 11.7 kilometers, which is very nice. Of course, that stays at that range throughout the tiers, from tier 8 and above. But the duration is what really changes things. The Dimitri Donskoi, you know, it doesn't have the greatest duration radar, but you know, to each their own, I guess. Now, a perk that I think is beneficial on this ship is actually Expert Loader. I've been delving into the realms of Expert Loader, and the more that I use it, the more that I realize that it is quite beneficial. I remember when I first started playing the game, and even a few months ago, I didn't really value it very highly at all. I thought the only good tier 1 perk was, of course, the priority target, and then preventative maintenance had some use as well. Of course, we're excluding aircraft carriers here, but I think it you know, Expert Loader is a great perk, because you take a 10-second reload on the Donskoi, and let's say you see this target. Granted, the Chapayev wasn't at nearly enough health there, but you know, had that Chapayev been at maybe 16k, you know, instead of shooting the HE, you could dab the 2 key, you know, with your guns fully loaded, have a 5-second reload, and then, you know, put a solid 16k salvo into that Chapayev. Whereas had you not had expert loader, you could have, or you might not have been able to achieve that. You'd have to fire off the first salvo and maybe get a solid 4k. I think that's pretty generous in the Donskoi, and then reload, and then hopefully the guy, hopefully he doesn't, you know, back up behind the island, and then you know, maybe you won't get any citadels and just a few overpens on the bow. So, so it is certainly it is a perk that I do like a lot more now, and for that reason. So we're gonna use our last radar of the game here. I think it was a little prematurely, but he wasn't. I think he wasn't sure where the Neptune would be, and well, torps were expected. Armor held up there, and unfortunately for that Neptune, he did not plan his torpedo attack out very well. But we'll reap the benefits. So now, about a little over halfway through the game, we are now looking at a 5v4, 3 battleships aside, a cruiser aside, but the difference is we've got a destroyer, and hopefully that will make the difference. About even on points as well, with the enemy team having slightly more points. So here we're just gonna cap, not much to say, really, and do a little beaching. But yeah, so personally, when I played the Donskoi, I did enjoy it for the most part. It is a good tier 9. I think it's one of the better tier 9s. Granted, you also have to go up against things like the Rune, which is a fantastic tier 9 heavy cruiser, and also the Baltimore, which is it's a great battleship now, heavy cruiser now, but you know, oof, got lucky there. But of course, after the buffs to the Baltimore, when it moves down to tier 8, and we get the new tier 9, that will greatly change. I think the new tier 9, in both lines actually. The let's see, I think the Buffalo and the, I'm drawing a blank on the tier 9 American light cruiser, but either way, they are going to be great ships. The thing that the Donskoi strives at, though, isn't really close quarter combat. It is really that long range engagement, and you know, whereas the Baltimore, I think, is a very good close quarter to medium range, because you have to deal with those arcs, those classic American arcs. The Rune, I think, is just an all-around medium monster, and it can even delve into those closer range engagements with its torpedoes that the Germans get, as well as its turtleback armor. So I think it is pretty effective for medium range combat and more open water kiting-esque. But I think the Donskoi is just it's just perfect for this long range combat, sitting at, you know, these like 13-14 kilometers, and we could just see why. Get a wither there on the enemy Missouri. We're just raining down hell at this point. One thing to note, though, is the turret angles are quite poor. Especially if you're charging someone, getting that 4th turret off to fire is incredibly difficult. You have to show an extraordinary amount of your broadside to even, you know, adequately, you know, fire off all 4 guns. And oh boy, did we get lucky there again. An Alsace shooting HE at us from 14 kilometers, and he did aim quite poorly, I have to say, but that is something you have to be careful about. When you angle properly, and I'm saying you bait people to shoot your main belt, and then you turn into those shells, the Donskoi's armor is quite strong. Otherwise, this is why I consider it a light cruiser. At the end of the day, its armor doesn't hold up all that much. But of course, when the fact of the matter is even if the armor isn't very good, that's why you play at these longer ranges. If you play at these longer ranges, you've got the shell travel time is longer, and you've got more chance to react. And with the Donskoi's great speed and also maneuverability, it does help the Donskoi to sort of evade a lot of its opponent's shells, especially ones that were meant for its citadel, which is quite big and quite long. And the rear end of this especially is very, 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 very annoying. There's really no armor in the rear. The only place that is somewhat sustainable is its bow, which is it's a pain in the butt. But you know, I saw a little bit of that there. Some nice penetrations into our butt. So with 3 minutes remaining, I think we're just gonna try and reset here. I think this is a good decision. You know, we're about half health. I'd say if we get below 14k, we gotta stop firing. Maybe even 15k, just due to the fact that we're fighting a 3v1 here, and you never want to be fighting a 3v1, especially in a cruiser. No matter how accurate and stealthy and maneuverability-ness you have, you know, it's never a good idea to be fighting more than, certainly not more than 2 targets, but 3 is a bit on the crazy side. But it's the end of the game. It is quite close, and we do need some resets, and I think that's what SeaBear was trying to do for the, you know, trying to reset for as long as possible. I do like, though, how he's switching between targets. You know, of course, it is a little bit of a damage farm, but you know, you keep people in check with their health. If you just focus one guy down, he'll just slow down, and then, you know, kind of like this Alsace doing, just kind of slow down, kind of hang back a little bit, and just make you forget about him. Now here, you have to be really careful, though, too, because if you are, and I think SeaBear notices it, as soon as that Atago pops up, look who shoots at you. The battleships. So if you're in that situation and you're thinking you're actually going to turn a little bit more to towards B, don't do it, because you're getting baited. You're getting baited for sure. So don't do that. So I'm just going to kind of let this replay run out here for a little bit. We're going to be basically having the sides of the Kurfürst and Alsace, and we're just going to be running down hell on them. So I'm just going to let it run out from here, and I'll see you guys at the post-battle results. Alright guys, so before we go into the post-battle results, I just want to mention something that I kind of forgot to mention earlier. If you'd also like to send in your captain builds and upgrades, feel free to do so as well. These are SeaBears, and quickly going over, I think Party Target's a good one. Adrenaline Rush is a great one. Superintendent is needed for sure. Concealment is also needed for sure. It's basic cruiser build. From there, IFHE works perfectly fine on the Donskoi. However, on the Moskva, I'd be careful because you don't get really any benefit from using IFHE on the Moskva. Demolition Expert is good. I do like that. From there on out, with only 2 points left, I would say it would be between the Expert Marksman or either Jack of all trades or High Alert. Alternatively, if you are going to do a Moskva, I would consider dropping this, putting on AFT maybe, and then or even fire prevention as well. Just depends on your play style, really. So I like to see that. And then upgrades wise, perfectly fine. Again, I think I would probably take. Let's put it this way. I would probably take accuracy over AA range. I could totally see the argument for AA range, and that's fine. This is needed for sure. This is also needed, and I would highly, 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 highly recommend the reload mod as well. So, looking at the screenshots here, very close game, went down to the wire for sure. 243,000 damage to finish off the replay with a Confederate high caliber. 3 ships killed, 7 citadels, 7 base defense, solo base cap, and an assisted base capture as well. Team score wise, 3189 base XP, which was very, very nice. A little over 1,000 more than the Alsace on his team, who did well in his own right. 2,000 base XP is certainly a good match for any ship, any tier. So detail report wise, almost double wither, 6k off a double wither. Had that game gone on for maybe another minute, I think we would have gotten it. But very, very nice game overall, and 1.5 million potential damage. A little bit higher than I'd like in the Donskoi. I like to keep that number a little bit lower. The less people shooting at you in the Donskoi, the better, because it does seem to get Citadel at some somewhat weird angles at times. But we did a nice job at mitigating as much damage as possible with our very good positioning and our kiting as well. So good job, SeaBear, on that. And then even without a premium account, you still make 400 grand. Granted, this is a bit of an extreme for the credits and XP wise, but the Donskoi is pretty profitable, I would say.